Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another Train Tuesday. I am your host, Jim Wiggins. So glad to have you on board. If you enjoy the content that you see delivered on a weekly basis, please do us a favor. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a new video drops into our channel. And comment. I try to answer as many comments on a weekly basis as possible. Can't guarantee I'm going to get to all of them, but I do my best. So we're going to be talking about the GATX tank train. It's a pretty unique piece of equipment, and it is still used. And we're going to be offering these in a variety of different paint schemes as well as eras. So if you're a fan of the 1980s to current day and you like unusual equipment and you've got room for one of these monsters, you're going to want to pay attention to this episode. Now, one thing that I do want to stress, I do have links in the video description below for both the original PDF announcement as well as to the Athearn website. However, both the HO scale and the N scale Athearn versions are completely sold out at the Athearn distribution center. So if you pre-ordered one of these, well, you're in luck. Your dealer's probably already contacted you and let you know that these models are in stock. If you did not pre-order, you can look at one of the Athearn dealers that's available online, or maybe if you're fortunate enough, you've got one not too far from where you live and you can possibly pick these up. But I do want to let you know that we are tightening our pre-orders and we only produce exactly what was pre-ordered. So you may be in luck if you didn't pre-order by ordering through a hobby shop online, but just wanted to let you know that everything at athearn.com is completely sold out. But once again, for reference, the links are in the video description below. And also keep in mind that for the Athearn Genesis HO scale versions, on the product page is an exploded view of the particular model. That way, if one of the details may have gotten lost or damaged and you need it replaced, you can contact our service staff and you can both look at the same exploded view, and that cuts down on confusion for both you and our service staff, and you can get the correct part. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with another Train Tuesday and talk about these really interesting cars, the GATX tank trains. So these cars here were developed by GATX back in the 1970s, and kind of an unusual freight car. Now, these are a unit oil train. They're made of semi-permanent connected tank cars that allow for efficient single-point loading and unloading from one end of the train via a system of valves and flexible hoses. You can see how they're all connected, and they have that hose in between. So if there's a large oil customer, rather than having a crew fill or unload each tank car individually, this is basically a system. It's essentially one car when they're all connected. So this is great for large distributors, large customers that take the type of material that these cars haul. Now, like I was saying, they developed these back in the 1970s. They're still using today. Now, Southern Pacific got really famous for these. I believe they call them their oil can trains. They're really, really cool, but not just the SP had them. They even had them as far out as the East Coast into Canada. They travel pretty much all over. And so that's why we offered for this run a little bit of everything in this run. So let's go ahead and talk about which roads are being offered in this current run. Again, by the time you're watching this video, these are probably going to be available at your Athearn dealer. They are completely sold out at athearn.com. So we're going to start 2012 era Canadian National, and that's actually what I've got on the layout here behind me. Now, for each of these, it's important to realize that you're going to have an A-B end, which that's going to be sold as a set. They're two cars. So you have your A end and your B end. That's basically the front and the back of these cars, if you will. And then you have your intermediate ends. Now, depending on what road name, these will include either 2 or 3 cars. We'll talk about that here in a moment. But as an added bonus for this time, We're also offering unnumbered cars, and those are just being sold as singles, obviously. So if you want to expand your tank train, you can. You can simply buy the unnumbered versions for the road in which you wish to model, such as this Canadian National version, and put the decals on yourself. So there's one of these offered for Canadian National. Here are the ABNs. The ABNs for the Canadian National, that of course, that comes as a 2-car set. That is the beginning and the end of your tank train. Now, I do also want to let you know with the Athearn Genesis models, they're going to include a small poly bag, all of the cars, including the single that's unnumbered. They're going to include a poly bag that includes the connecting hoses or a soft material that connect between the 2 tank cars, as well as spare bearing caps. Now, these do have, since these are Genesis, these do have animated bearing caps, and we do know that sometimes they can get lost. Well, we've added some extras for you. There's 2 in each, 2 for each car for replacement. And then we've got what they call the intermediate cars. Now, for the Canadian National, it's a 3-car set. They come in a box of 3, and there's a complete set. There's about 4 complete sets that you can see here. Again, you can see all of the road numbers on the PDF announcement and the links in the video description below. Now, to give you some reference and size, you can't see the complete layout behind me, but my layout is roughly 8 feet long, and I have the AB cars and 2 of the intermediate sets. So 6 intermediate cars plus the 2 ABs, and it pretty much fills up about 6 feet of the 8 feet of my layout. So if you are fortunate enough to have a club layout, or if you're fortunate enough to have one of those basement empires we all dream about, or even if you're into Freemo, these are perfect for that because these are monster cars. A little bit newer, this is 2022 era. This is GATX again. This is a variant in the white and black. Here we have the painted but unlettered version. This is a single car. It's sold as a single. You can add the decals to add as many cars as you like to this era car or train. Here again, we have the AB set, so your front and your back. And then our intermediates. And as you can see there, listed on your screen is the complete list of car numbers that are available. So you can buy all of the packs and not have to worry about duplicating road numbers. There is no duplicating road numbers. And again, the Athearn product development team, they're the ones that did all the research on these, and they vetted these numbers out. So if you want to expand, if there's numbers that they didn't cover in this road that you want to use to expand your GATX setup, you can by getting that single car and decaling it with the road number of your choice. Going back to the 1980s, and this is really interesting, this is Quaker State. Now, a lot of folks, when we posted the announcement for these back in January of 24, a lot of people said, well, these must be legendary liveries. I've never seen these. This has never happened before. And not the truth. These really did exist. Now, this is the unlettered, or I should say unnumbered, decorated version. So if you want to add to your Quaker State tank train, you can. But before we go further, I wanted to let you know that yes, they do exist. There is a prototype for everything. Right after I did that Train Tuesday back in January of 24, I went to the Amherst show in Springfield, Massachusetts, and I got to meet Mike Pfizer, I believe is how you pronounce your name. I'm just going to take a guess on that. Mike Pfizer Sr., who took these pictures back in 1988 in Alliance, Ohio. And here you have the tank train with the Quaker State paint and logo. These were the impetus for us to make these in Genesis. Now, we didn't use his pictures because he actually approached us after we announced these, but I'm so glad that Mike was able to get these pictures, and Mike Pfizer Jr. for supplying those pictures to us. The original photographer was senior, and junior was able to get these together for us. I was able to scan them and put them in. Pretty cool pictures. Again, this is Alliance, Ohio, 1988. One of the cool details too is if you look at the one picture, we see Conrail 7701. That is a former Penn Central GP38. Conrail is got a buffer car in there, and if you look closely, you can kind of see in one of the pictures there's a Conrail gondola. So if you're running these, you might want to put a buffer car on here, a gondola. There's been other cars that have been used. In my case, I didn't have a gondola handy, so I've got an empty box car that's acting as a buffer car. But just some cool features, some cool details about these cars. I want to thank the Pfizers for getting these pictures to me, and I hope to see you at the Amherst show this coming January 2026. And if I did mispronounce your name, I apologize. It's been 2 years since we talked about these, and I want to thank them again for providing these pictures. Really interesting set of pictures. Man, I wish I could have been there to see these in person. So back to the models. We've got our AB set here again. 1980s, as you can see, those were from 1988. Apparently, these were used throughout the 1980s. I've had some folks that are fans of the Delaware and Hudson also approach me and say they remember seeing these in New York. So if you're a fan of the Midwest into the Northeast, you can probably add these to your collection. And quite frankly, I think this is probably the one that sold out the quickest. I don't know. I did some research. I don't think we've offered the Quaker State ones before. So this may be the first time. And as a result, they did sell out quickly. Now, the Quaker State cars are coming in packs of 2 for their intermediate cars. You can see the road numbers there on your screen. You can also verify that with the PDF links in the description below. So a little bit different. Instead of a 3-pack, these come in a 2-pack. And then finally, for 2022, we've got the standard GATX white cars. These are a little bit more modern than the Quaker State, of course, because they've got the conspicuous stripes. They've got some different markings. Also, to keep note that there are also 2 body styles for these cars. There's an early version and a later version. Quaker State is the earlier version, and then the later version is represented here. This is the single car that's going to be available unnumbered so that you can add to your roster. And here again, we have the AB sets. Again, keep in mind that each car that you purchase, each car set, whether it be the AB or the intermediate car sets, they will include the flexible rubber hoses as well as extra bearing caps. Now the GATX white cars, they too are going to be available in 2-packs. There's just a couple for this. And so if you want a smaller set and you want to run, you can definitely do this. N scale guys, keep in mind the same road names and road numbers are available in N scale on the Athearn line. Not quite as detailed as the Genesis. However, if you're into N-Track, Fremo N, even it'd be kind of a tight fit, but even T-Track, you can get these in N scale. The N scale ones too, they're sold out. So you're going to want to talk to your Athearn dealer to pick those up in N scale or HO. Now, this is just some of the features that we're going to talk about. If you want to see the complete details on these cars, I highly recommend you select the video description and look for that link in there for the PDF. It goes in detail what these cars have. But here's some of the high points. Now, as I was saying earlier, these represent 2 GATX classes, the 282 series and the 486 series. The 282 series was from 1977 to present, and then you've got the 486 series, which was slightly later, 1982 to present. These will include 100-ton roller bearing trucks with rotating bearing caps. These will have the correct walkways, manways, load and unload plaques per series. You'll notice in a lot of the pictures, the paint scheme is not the only thing that differs, but depending on what they were loaded with, placards have been adjusted accordingly, and so has the nomenclature on the side of the cars. These include the correct transfer plumbing per prototype series on the end on both the A and B cars. And believe it or not, the minimum radius on these cars in HO scale is 18 inches. However, we do recommend 22 inches. It just looks better. It looks really cartoonish on an 18-inch curve, but it will work, trust me. Those rubber connecting hoses, they're extremely soft, very pliable, so they will have no problem. They stay on there very nicely. They don't pop off. But 22 just looks so much better. Even 22 for these large of a car is really getting to the minimum. But Athearn PD designed them to run on 18. If you're looking at the N scale cars, you can probably run these on a 9 3/4. However, I'd say an 11-inch radius would be the best for N scale. Now, again, these have completely sold out at Athearn.com. You can't get them direct. You can, however, get them through your Athearn dealer. Now, like I said, about a year ago, we said we were going to start really honing in on the orders with our factory. So we're only producing what we get for pre-orders. We're not doing above pre-orders anymore. So when these closed back 2 years ago, once those were closed, that was the end of it. They were produced, they came to Horizon, and as soon as they came in, they went right back out to all the dealers that had pre-ordered these. So hopefully you pre-ordered one or more so that you can take part in these. If not, you may have a hard time finding one, but this release is certainly an exciting release, and looking forward to seeing these on the show circuit as we get close to show season. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at these cars a little bit closer. Obviously a little bit too big for my layout to do any operations, but we'll get a close look at them real quick. All right, so we've got our 2012 era Canadian National GATX cars here. I don't have the ballast done on the layout or things of that nature, and really the focus isn't the layout at this point. The focus is the models. Now, come October, you're going to see some big differences in the studio. But for now, let's just concentrate on the train itself. So you can see here, real flexible. These are included with each car. For each car that you get, there are 2 of these hoses, and they just simply slide on and slide off. I'm going to pop this guy off and disconnect them. Of course, they have double shelf couplers, as you can see. This is one of the terminating cars. So you can see the valve is different. You can see how that setup is. I'm going to hold that there so you can see it. And since these are Genesis, these have really fine detail. You also have all of the brake detail on the bottom, all of the valves. Trust me, the lettering is legible under magnification. I'll set that there so you don't see my shaking hand. Of course, you've got your placards, and the placards are appropriate considering what they are containing. And of course, since this is Genesis, you do have the air hose and the cut levers. So again, each road name is going to include the ABNs, which is a 2-car set. Each car that's included in the package will include 2 of these connecting hoses, as well as replacement bearing caps. There's 2 per car. This stuff is super flexible. You can see how flexible it is. So yes, it will navigate an 18-inch curve without any issues. And I'm going to try to do this on camera. This isn't always the easiest thing to do on camera. But just to show you how those connect, it's almost going to do it for me. Pardon my hand. They just slip on like that. Quick slip on. So again, these are going to be available by the time you watch this video. These should be available at your Athearn dealer now. I'm hoping that you pre-ordered these. I have to admit, I did not pre-order my N-scale ones, and I am empty-handed. So don't be like me. In the future, pre-order. That way you're guaranteed that you're going to get it. I do hear in the comments quite a bit, I don't want to pre-order and have my money hanging out there for however long it takes for the model to get delivered. Well, if that's the case, then you need to look at possibly pre-ordering through a different dealer. Not all dealers require money up front. Most dealers do not. Some, a small percentage, may want a percentage of money down for the pre-order, but no, I don't know of very many dealers that want all the money up front for a pre-order. So if that's your case, shop around. It's just like everything else. I'm going to slide down here a little bit, move the camera. Now we can see the intermediate cars. Now I only have 2 on my train because this is so large. I don't have a lot of room to move these cars, but I've only got 2 sets of the intermediates, and for the CN cars, there's 2 included. I'm sorry, 3 cars included for each multi-pack. And no, the numbers don't duplicate. So again, if you're into Fremo or you've got a club layout that allows you a good mainline run, these cars really shine. If you're into some type of modular setup where you're at a train show or you're mixing it up with the public, these are a showstopper. These just look incredible, and you're going to get a lot of questions. People are going to be like, "Hey, is that multiple tank cars or is it just one?" No, it's technically many cars connected together, but for loading and unloading purposes, it can be treated like one tank car. It's a really cool setup. So again, if you're modeling the 1980s into current day and you want something a little bit different, these are definitely going to be in your wheelhouse. They've been extremely popular with us before. Obviously, they were really popular this time as well. And like I said, I hope you get your pre-orders in. Don't be like me and be left empty-handed. N-scale guys, keep in mind, these are available in N-scale as well. They're under the Athearn brand. They're not going to be quite as detailed as a Genesis model. However, if you're into N-Track like I am, they look great on N-Track. They perform great on N-Track. And you've got some options, again, 1980s to 2022. Well, that's all I've got for you on this episode of Train Tuesday. We're counting down the weeks now. We're not far away from going live again. Our first live is going to be October 7th. And also, I want to let everybody know that we will be in attendance this year at Train Fest. I just found out about that. I'm really looking forward to hopefully seeing some of you at Train Fest this year. And it will be nice to get back on the road. So until next time, everyone, I want everyone out there to be happy, be healthy, be safe, do some good modeling, and above all, high greens. Take care, everyone.